Quick little story about the show. After we had set up, the show had just started. It's Saturday morning, and there are our regular friends that are kind of walking around, and they've come over to our table and they're talking to us. So the people in particular are Hugh and Melissa from H&M Exotics. Awesome people. Definitely check them out. I'm gonna link to them down below. But Melissa was over there looking at the animals, and we're just talking. Courtney's behind the table, I'm in front of it. We're just chatting because the show hasn't really got going yet. It ended up being probably one of the slower shows we'd been to, not even as like vending, but as consumers, but it's still a great show for us. Anyway, so Melissa's sitting there in front of our table, and she's looking at the snakes, and she points to one, and she's like, I want that. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's cool, that's awesome, like, ha. And then I realize that she means like she wants to buy it. So I'm like, oh, that's so cool. I'm like, really? And everybody made fun of me for the rest of the show because apparently I'm not allowed to say really when somebody says that they want to buy one of our snakes. So that's a rule that I now have, and a rule for everybody else. If somebody comes up and says that they want to buy one of your snakes, don't say really.
Hello, my name is Courtney, and my pop of color here is Marigold. She is a banana enchie that we got from Dynasty Reptiles this past year, and she's pretty, so felt like she'd be a good one to bring on while we talked about reptile shows today. We didn't purchase her at a reptile show, but we are not strangers to doing that. So today we're going to be talking about what it was like to breed our first show, what we wish we had known ahead of time, what we were glad we found out, what we wouldn't do in the future, and what we would have prepared for differently. So the video episode, who the heck am I? Okay. This video is going to be broken down into two main parts, which is going to be what to bring and what to have prepared. And it's going to be reversed from what I just said. It's going to be what to have prepared and then what to bring. And then I think Steven's going to pop in for what to expect. So thank you for listening to the worst intro ever, and let's get into it. All right, so the first thing I want to talk about is what to have prepared. So this is stuff that you need to have ready ahead of time before you're able to vend a show. Our first show was Show Me Snakes in Augusta, in Grovetown, I guess. And to vend in the state of Georgia, you need an exhibitor's license. So you need to obtain that ahead of time, a couple weeks. I think we started the process in June or July because we knew we were going to be vending the September show, and we had our license in plenty of time. They worked through it all with us. I think we did have to send 1 or 2 emails to be like, hey, can y'all get back to us? And they apologized and said that they would send it right over. It was no issue at all, but it took us about a month to obtain that. So have that ahead of time, absolutely for sure. You definitely want to have that, and you can't vend a show without it in the state of Georgia. Every state is different. I don't believe there's one for South Carolina, but I know the fees for a table are going to be a little higher. Next is you have to go ahead and book your table. We got on the list pretty early, but I believe there were openings right up until the day of. So it's not a big deal if you aren't sure what you'll have available and you're not sure if you'll make it to the show. You can always see if an expo has availability a couple days before. It's not going to work if your first show is going to be a big one like Narbex Tinley or the National Breeders Expo in Daytona, but if you're vending a little local show, you probably have a little bit of a leeway with time. The exhibitor's license was $200 and the table fee was $90. In addition to that, you're going to want marketing supplies. So you can do a backdrop for behind your table, you can do a tablecloth with your brand on it, you can do stickers, business cards, anything like that. But if you want people to remember you, I definitely recommend having something that you can send home with people, whether it be your sticker, your business card, or even a little note card with your logo, name, or social media information on it.
I think that marketing is really important, so I think that the presentation of your table is important. I think that having a tablecloth, having like a branded display where you are using the colors of your scheme together, I think all of that stuff just raises the level of professionalism to your setup, and it brings people closer to you. Like, we have been to shows before where it was just deli cups, and there's nothing wrong with deli cups, but it's deli cups on a table, there's no branding at all, and it looks almost like a garage sale. And even if there was amazing animals in those deli cups, they don't catch your interest, and you don't stay at the table long enough to like really look, because it just kind of all blends together. You might just kind of glance as you walk by. So I think that having a 3-tier display or something like equivalent where it just looks professional and having all of your branding together is a critical piece of displaying and setting up for your show, because it's what's going to initially draw the audience's, the consumer's attention while they are walking around.
Our tablecloth costs $100. So that, you know, if you're adding up how much we spent to do this show, we're up to about $400. And the last thing that you're going to want to have prepared is your display method. So that's whether you want to do a display case, like a 3-tier display case, or deli cups. You need a way for people to be able to see your animals, see what you have, and there are pros and cons on both. We absolutely prefer the display case. You can get them for about 18 individual slots. You can get those for about $400. You can get them through ARS, but there's a long lead time, so you really need to have that way ahead of time before you vend a show. We got ours from Top Tier Caging. They're out of Wake Forest, North Carolina, and they said their turnaround time was like 2 weeks. So that's definitely someone to check out if you're looking for a display case right now. We love ours. It comes apart so that you can have at most 18 small slots, but when you pull out the dividers, you can have a couple bigger display spots and a couple smaller. So if you have larger animals, like we had 2 breeder size that we put in the display case at the top. When you pick deli cups, the drawback there, they are much cheaper, but I do believe it kind of looks that way as well. So I like how the display case looks. I feel like it looks a lot more professional and it catches attention a lot better. Whereas the deli cups are super convenient, they're super easy to just put out, but it doesn't have that same level of, I don't want to say that it looks nicer, if you ask me. You can have the prettiest animal in the world in a deli cup, but it just doesn't seem as professional to me personally. I did say that was the last thing, but I was a liar. Point of sale method is something that you'll definitely need to think about. You're going to want to decide how you're going to take payment, whether it just be cash, which a lot of people don't have cash on them. There are usually ATMs at the venue, but it's a lot easier if you can take credit cards. Venmo and PayPal, Cash App, those it's against their terms of service to sell live animals using those. So be very careful if you want that to be your main point of sale method. We use Square. Square does take out a fee, I think of 2% plus like 10 cents per transaction. So it might cost a little more, but you can write it off when you're filing your taxes, and there's no terms of service being broken where they might freeze your account and take your money. Square is very easy to sign up for. They send you a little adapter for your phone, and you can swipe cards that way. You can also send invoices to people. So we also use Square when we are selling animals through Morph Market. Come up with what your point of sale is going to be, whether you're going to be taking just cash, credit, debit, or having people send you money. Or if you want to take a personal check, be careful with that too. And I definitely recommend getting like a supply to have would be like a cash box. And when we got our cash box, I felt so stupid about this. I made such a big deal about making sure we had 1s and 5s in our cash box, and then realized that every single animal that we were selling was like, 100, 150, 120. There's no, why did I need ones? I don't know. I made a big deal about it too. I made my sister bring me ones because she's a server and she's a bartender and she had cash. I like made her drive to my house in the middle of the night. It was, you don't need ones unless you're going to be selling an animal for an uneven, like an odd number. All right, so what should you bring to a reptile expo that you are vending? First up would be your animals. So what you want when you are bringing specific animals is you want to make sure that they are ready to be sold to anyone who might be purchasing from you. So if you have a hatchling that has only taken 1 or 2 meals, you are potentially selling that to a pet owner who, you know, isn't as skilled at feeding young animals as a breeder would be. So personally, I don't like the idea of selling an animal who's had less than 4 or 5 meals. Honestly, less than 5 meals, because any issues that a pet owner might have feeding them could be detrimental to that animal's health. So maybe they've heard that a snake can go off feed for a month, and when they can't get their animal to eat for a month, they're not considering that that animal has only had 2 meals in its lifetime. I recommend having given the animal at least 4 meals and being at least 80 grams. That's our personal preference. Everyone is different. Some people might say you want them at least 100 grams. Some people might say, weight doesn't matter as long as they're good eaters. Some people might not even care if they've eaten before. It really depends on who you're selling to, but you really want to consider stuff like that when you're trying to build your name as a professional and as a solid breeder. You want animals that will thrive for people so that when they come back to you, they remember that the animal they bought from you was an amazing eater. It was such a good snake. Definitely want to buy from them again because they take such good care of their animals.
One thing that we noticed at the show was that a lot of pet owners bought from us. And I think that this is important to kind of differentiate because breeders have different priorities and motivating factors and needs than pet owners do. Where pet owners may be a little bit more price conscious because they're not intending to make a return on their investment. They just want a beautiful animal like Louie here, which we had some of his babies at the show, which everybody loved. But anyways, they just want a beautiful animal that they can have as a companion and a pet and to be able to take care of it, not necessarily to breed it in the future and sell the babies. And because of this, I think that the price point that kind of worked the best were animals in the $100 to $350-ish range.
Funny thing about our animals is we made the mistake of posting them on Morph Market before we went to the show, and we sold like 7 right away, and we only had about 20 to bring to the show. So that left us with about 13 animals to bring, and again, our display case has 18 slots in it. So we ended up bringing 2 breeder size animals and taking out dividers. So our top display case, which normally fits 6, only had 2 animals in it. We also shared a table with friends to really fill up that table space. And any empty space, we put out our stickers, little pamphlets, and candy. It was right before, it was not right before Halloween, it was 2 months before Halloween, but whatever. Display case, make sure you bring your display case, and you want to bring substrate for it as well. You want to bring chalk markers so that you can write what the animal is and their price on the top. Some people also do labels. So if you like the way a label looks more than a chalk marker, that's just a personal preference. Everybody's different. And what you use as substrate is different for everyone as well. We used purple rodent bedding that we had just gotten at a pet store. Some people use like beans. They use a white paper substrate. They use like white, just not cards, but like the same material as tub liners. There's a lot of different things you can use, so it's up to you. It's whatever you think looks good. If you have a lot of bright snakes, maybe you want a darker substrate. If you have a lot of dark snakes, maybe a lighter substrate. So whatever works for you, think about how you want it to look and maybe do some trial maybe do some trial runs with that before you go to the show. If you are like us and you really liked the idea of a tablecloth, make sure you bring that, and bring F10 or any sanitizer that you use around your animals. Bring that as well. It is very important to keep your animals clean and healthy, safe and healthy. People who are interested in the animal tend to want to handle them first, make sure that it's got the temperament they like, especially if they're a pet owner. So I recommend bringing hand sanitizer that you can give people before they touch your animals. If you are not comfortable with people touching your animals, if you don't believe they're going to buy it, or if they haven't already put money down, that is totally up to you. Everyone is different. We like to let people handle the animals because we think it makes a memorable experience for them. But again, that is your personal preference. Definitely bring some hand sanitizer though, and something to clean your table and your display case in case an animal defecates in it. You don't want to leave that nasty all day. I definitely recommend that F10 and paper towels. In addition to if an animal defecates, when you sell an animal, you'll probably mark it as sold or mark the price out, and you'll want to wipe it off with a paper towel. And if you have an acrylic display case, it leaves a lot of little fibers. So a microfiber cloth is something I absolutely recommend bringing. Definitely, in addition to a chalk pen, bring Sharpies and pens. If you are accepting cash, you might want like a receipt book, and you'll want to like write out your receipts with a pen. You'll want to mark on any deli cups that you might be using in place of a snake bag with a marker. That's another thing, would be snake bags and deli cups, but we're talking about markers right now. So definitely Sharpie. There were so many times I had to borrow a Sharpie because I was not prepared. And then a black ink pen is really nice for writing down notes in case somebody is curious about something, or if you need to mark something on hold, or if you just want to give someone a phone number in case they need to call you and you don't have business cards. So I definitely recommend like notebook paper and pen. The deli cups and snake bags, in addition to those, I recommend bringing zip ties and tape. You want to be safe. You want to make sure no animals get out in somebody's car, that no animals get out behind your table, on your table. So bring snake bags or deli cups or a mix of both, however you'd like to send animals home with someone. But you do need to remember, you are sending the animals home with someone, so they need a method of transportation to be safe. The zip ties on the snake bags are just added security, and the tape on a deli cup. Your stickers and business cards, definitely bring those. You want to send the snake home with that information because you know that your customer is going to have a great experience and you want them to come back to you. Definitely bring stuff for you. So don't just bring things for your animals. Bring your phone charger. Bring your snacks. Bring a drink. Bring some Tylenol, hair ties, deodorant. Just bring things like that because you're going to be there all day long. You get in the day before to set up, and then you are there like 2 hours before it opens, and you're there until after everything shuts down. So definitely bring stuff that will keep you comfortable, like chairs. I think a lot of places will have chairs, but if you want a comfortable chair, bring a comfortable chair. If you are 7 months pregnant, a chair is really nice. A sweater in case it's cold, things like that are really nice to have. Snacks and drinks, we had a cooler with water and soda, and I think Steven got him an energy drink to have in there because it was long days, as well as snacks. Snacks were really good because you can go take a lunch, but there's not like a pause. You need to have someone stay at your table, and if you're having a busy show, you might not get the chance to run over and grab a meal. So definitely bring yourself some food. You'll want extension cords and power strips to plug in your lights, any phone chargers, things like that. Heat tape. It was really cold in the building where we did our show, and we did not think to bring heat tape. Luckily, we shared the space with some friends, and it was very helpful that we were able to keep our snakes on heat for those 2 days. That was really helpful. So definitely bring you some heat tape just to put under their display cases. A couple things to know before you go to a show is that it is going to be what you make it. If you are energetic and you're having a good time, it tends to happen that those types of people will come to your booth. So it could be a really successful show, even if it's slow. Don't get discouraged if you think it's a slow show, because you've got to keep in mind, if it's full of the breeders vending, they're just as likely to buy an animal as anyone coming in to buy an animal. We're terrible. We love buying snakes. So definitely bring, good positive energy with you. Bring your wallet, because there's gonna be stuff around that you're gonna want to take home. Even if it's not an animal, you might find something cool. There's a lot of interesting tables at Reptile Expos. They're a lot of fun.
At the end of the show, you already know how much money you've made from all of the animals you've sold. So if you are considering picking something up, perhaps wait until the end of the show, like Sunday, as long as you are fine with another customer potentially buying the animal that you want, because you might be able to get a better deal. As they're packing up, and if you go up to them and you're like, hey, I really, really like whatever the animal is, would you be willing to take this amount? You won't have to take them home. We did pretty good at the show after all. A lot of the times they're going to be willing to work with you. So just keep that in mind. If you're looking at buying any animals while you're vending a show, wait till Sunday when everybody's packing up, and then go up and offer whatever it is, a reasonable offer on the animal that you're interested in.
Think about how you want to leave your animal, whether you want to leave it there overnight or whether you want to bring them home with you. A lot of the bigger folks who have a lot of animals leave them in the display case overnight. Personally, we brought ours home because, like I said, we only had about 15 that we brought with us. I think 13 and 2, yeah. And if you want to bring them home, give them water, put them in enclosures. I do recommend quarantining them when you bring them back, just because people may have handled them, they've been around other animals, and you don't want to introduce them back into your hatchling rack or into your collection before you've quarantined them. It is nice to get them home where you know they are safe. I know that most people have locks on their cages, but again, ARS cages I don't know if that's again, but I don't think I've said it already, but ARS cages all have the same key to their locks. So it's really cool if you need to borrow a key from a friend because you left yours somewhere, but it's a little less secure feeling when you know everyone has a key to your enclosure. So you can have personal locks put on them, however you want to do. We like bringing the snakes home. We like giving them water and getting them where we can keep an eye on them at home. So that's something to think about as well, however you want to do it. But yeah, so if you have any questions about what it was like to vend at the show that maybe we didn't think about, or maybe tips that you want to give someone else watching, if you've been vending a lot yourself, go ahead and leave those in the comments. And again, if you're looking for more tips, check the comments, because I'm sure it'll just be full of advice because I asked for it. Yeah, so our first show went amazing. We brought 15 snakes. We brought home 3, and we sold 1 before we made it all the way home on Morph Market, because we put it back up there. So it was a super successful show for us, even though it was honestly pretty slow. I definitely think Steven's energy is something that I recommend you bring to the show, just because he's a great salesman. He's a very positive person. It makes you want to buy an animal from us. Thanks. Be positive. Be willing to talk to customers. Don't just wait for them to talk to you. You don't have to be in their face, but just let them know if they have any questions. You don't want to be on your phone when they come by and then they think you're not comfortable talking to them. And yeah, be prepared. Bring things to make yourself comfortable. That is our advice. So if you have any questions, let us know. Reach out to us on Instagram. Our DMs are open as always. We post on there every day. We are at Leviathan.snakes. We're here on YouTube. Don't bother on Facebook. I didn't even know we had one until Steven told me recently. But yeah, so thank you so much. Again, I am Courtney and this is Miss Marigold. Have a great week, and we'll see y'all with the next video.